Hey there, everyone. This is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. Another Biz Tip Tuesday for everyone. I hope we're finding each other very well and safe, no matter where you are, east, west, north, or south. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach, and you can find me in LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as inside of these two communities, Content Creation Tips and More. This is where our newbie solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches are hanging out and learning and applying content marketing strategies and methods. And if you haven't necessarily started your new business, then you certainly want to head on over to the Busy 9-to-5ers Hive. And this is where our aspiring entrepreneurs, those who are working at 9-to-5s and want to transition and transform into entrepreneurs. So please head on over to those two spaces. So today, guys, I thought it would be fun to share with you an idea, or like I say, a concept when it comes to content marketing. And I kind of wanted to take it a little further and a little deeper with respect to an ecosystem. So that's what we're going to do today. So our question of the day is, what is and how does a content marketing ecosystem work? That is the question for today. So let's get everybody to give a chance to connect. I want to make sure that, and then we're going to get started. I think, let me see, make sure one other thing here. Make sure we're coming across. There we go. Make sure we're coming. Okay, good. We're coming across. Sometimes you never know. All right. So as I said, what is an ecosystem? A content marketing ecosystem, more better or less. And then how is it that it works so that it could benefit you as you pursue and grow your new business as a freelancer, a solopreneur, or a coach? And putting on my teacher hat, when I was thinking about this concept, I kind of took me back to, biology, not even biology, really elementary school, even middle school, when we think about ecosystems in and of itself. So I want to kind of take you through a process of just from a conceptual framework around what it is and how do they work together as far as the elements go. So let me bring up my notes and then we're going to get started here. Okay. Share my screen. And one of the things that I thought I would do, I put together, is always great to have a visual, right? I think it's always an important component to have. So let's bring up a quick visual for everybody. So I always like to operate out of mind maps. That's my kind of default way of thinking, is I put things in the visual component so everybody can kind of understand what the heck am I talking about, because sometimes everybody doesn't get it. But those of you that are listening, we have components. When we think of a mind map, these are just visual identifiers that can help you to better understand a concept. And so today I put together what we're going to call a content marketing ecosystem, which is really comprised of 6 components. And I'm going to kind of break those down for you. Now, let's start from the beginning and talk about what is an ecosystem from the start. And the thing to, hold on one second, make sure my screen is, I don't know if this is going to show or not. It should be. Okay. So I believe that an ecosystem, let's define a regular ecosystem first. So when we think about an ecosystem, we're talking about what is typically known as a complex network of, or a interconnection of systems. That is what an ecosystem is. However, I believe that a content marketing ecosystem doesn't necessarily have to be complex. You can have it simplified, i.e. Keep It Simple coach. And so interconnected systems, meaning that each one can operate independent of another. And however, when it is interconnected with another, then it can have a more exponential way of being powerful in the way in which it operates. That's the benefit of an ecosystem. When you're able to take multiple systems and bring them together, then you have compounded the effectiveness of that particular system that by itself, it's okay, it works great, but pull it together and connect it with other systems, and wow, you've got yourself a powerful opportunity. And that is what a content marketing ecosystem could look like for you. So, for those of you, if you have not already done so, you'll be able to get access to this and other information with respect to this concept inside our content creation tips and more website, simply going to smallbizsociety.com. Now, let's take you over. I'm just double checking somebody's trying to post here in my group. Let me just double check my screen real quick. And we got comments. Okay. Oh, and that's what I wanted. Let me take this banner off for you guys. There we go. Now you can better see the concept map itself. All right. Now, so there are 6 components. I love to deal with colors. So again, colors are triggers and how you remember things. Shapes are triggers and how you remember things. And that's why mind mapping is such a wonderful method and a tool that I love to use when I'm training and teaching concepts like this. So getting back to the idea. So yeah, ecosystem, powerful when you bring individual systems together, and then you can make them even more powerful when they're able to interconnect. And so let me share with you how the Keep It Simple coach or the Keep It Simple content marketing ecosystem could look like for you. And then I want to hear more about, like, where are you in that ecosystem as well? So let's have some feedback with respect to that. Okay, we're good there. So here again are the 6 components. Now, what do they each represent? So and again, this is Dr. Yam's version of a content marketing ecosystem. So just so we're clear. So in my ecosystem of content marketing and how I like to help my clients in kind of understanding how they can operate inside of this ecosystem is to break it down into components. And so what I've done is I've identified what I consider to be your primary or your key 6 elements of the content marketing ecosystem. There is social media. There is your website. There is emailing. There is your visual creatives. There is a podcast. And then there's blogging. Now, you might imagine, do I have to do all these? So let me first take that pressure off your back. It's not intended that you do all of them necessarily, especially not at the very beginning as new solopreneurs, freelancers, and coaches. It is a concept about these are just the elements. You are going to plug in to where you feel with your sweet spot in your content area of expertise that you can function best and meet your audience where they are. And then over time, you can expand on that inside of that same space. So that's the premise that I want to make sure everybody understands. It's just that this is simply a system. You're going to enter into whichever space works best for you, and then you grow around and add the others over time. That's the great thing I think about content marketing is it has such flexibility, and you can personalize it and adopt the components in a way that's going to work for you and your intended audience and help you to grow your business. Now, that being said, what I thought I would do is to kind of break down, well, how does each one of these 6 elements of the content marketing ecosystem kind of work with one another? Because I think sometimes we separate them and not understanding that they have a role to play with each other. That's the powerfulness of an ecosystem, that interconnectedness between each one. Now, I'm pulling up my notes, so I don't want to miss anything. So let me share with you how I see it, and hopefully you'll see it too, and it'll help you to kind of, again, just make the process much more easy and approachable in doing. All right. So when we think of first, let's talk about social media, because I think that's like an easy, quick entry point where people are able to get comfortable and engage and grow their audience of followers is using social media. So social media, yes, it can operate on its own. Yes, because it's simply a mechanism of being social and connecting with other people. Now, when we take that into the context of working it inside of your business, then I want us to think of it in a much more strategic way. So when we think about social media and content marketing, it again is independent. It can operate independent, but for the most part, it is the vehicle that can help the other systems connect with your audience in and of itself. So let me see. I'm trying to make sure I can get my notes to just look a little bigger because my screen. Hold on one second, guys. Okay. All right. So let's think about social media. So when you're in social media, how does it connect with your website? Well, with social media, you can promote your website. You can direct and create traffic to go to your website, right? Talking about content that's already resting there and sharing that information that's on your website, as that's your kind of like your main hub of information about your business is on your business website. So you can share information about your website there. Another thing you could do within your social media system itself is that you're able to promote your blog post, right? You're able to promote that using social media. How does it connect with a podcast? Same thing. You're able to promote your podcast content, when it's coming, what your topic matters, and things like. So you're able to promote and share information and direct people to your podcast. How does it work with your creative visuals? Now, when I talk about creative visuals, what I mean by that is infographics and other like even your other content like ebooks or your other creatives or your giveaways, your lead magnets, things that have a very visual and representation of the information that you're able to share with your intended audience. So again, with social media, you're able to take those visuals and use those as the images in your social media posts. When you think of it for how does it necessarily work with email? Not so much so, other than if you wanted to tell people to email you and then be able to track. But email in this case is more on email automation. And so there may not be so much of a direct connection with social media, but maybe there is. So if you have an idea of how social media can have a better connection with the email automation system, share it in the comments. I'd love to know. I'm always willing to learn something new. So those are how you can make those connections with social media and the other ones. Let's take a look at how does your website, have an interconnection with the other systems. So when we think of your website, and again, if you look at it from an email, you're able to invite people to subscribe to your email list on your website. There should be an offer there, something that for them to engage in a newsletter subscription. So you're able to use your website to promote and bring people into your email automation system of your subscriber list off of your website. Excuse me. The same thing with your blog. Your website is housed typically on your website is your blog content itself. So and it has a space that it can operate from each other. The other thing keeps popping up on my screen. Another thing that you're able to do is how you're able to promote your blog on your website. You promote your blog on your website as well as host it. You're able to share your podcast. Either the link, sometimes you can even embed your podcast content, the actual video audio files, and host them there in your playlist. You are able also to share those visual creatives off of your website and be able to share it via your social media post as well. And you're able to share your content in regards back to social media. Again, on your website, what you're able to do there is you should have a way to share. So when someone visits your website, you should have a social share type of a plugin, a tool that's going to allow. So when somebody lands on a blog or on your website, you're able to say, oh, I like this page. Let me share it with my followers. They have an ability to click on either one of the social media links and promote your website from there. So social sharing is an opportunity that you do have once you're on with that. Now let's take a look at email. Now with email interconnections, things that I haven't already spoken about with, you are able to make that connection of once people join your list or from your website, then you're able to, that's how you're basically able to create your subscriber list. You want to be able to have that ownership of the list. Unlike social media, followers are nice, likes are nice, shares are great. However, you don't own any of that. And you really don't have a way of tracking who these people are. Until you can get them on to an email list, do you have an ability to start to nurture and communicate with them in a more significant way that you're able then to build connections and then build relationships and then convert them into sales. So you have that. Another component, obviously, is with your email is that you can, through that list, you can promote your blog, you can promote your podcast, you can promote the content off of your website, anything new that you're posting up there. So your email automation system allows you to operate within the context of the other pieces. If you're having an offer, those visual, there's another opportunity for you to do that sharing as well. Now, let's look at your podcast. So from a podcast, you're able to repurpose content. So the subject matters that you talk about in your written content, which is in your blog post, you're able to repurpose that content and do as an audio or at least a spinoff. It doesn't have to be word for word, but you're able to expound on that subject matter in a way that takes you into a different platform, brings you inside of another set of audiences that you may not necessarily have had, and being able to share that expertise that you talk about on your blog. Now, the podcast itself, also from a website, is able to generate traffic to go to your website. When every time you're speaking on a podcast, versus you or yourself as a guest, you want to always be making sure that you're promoting your website, driving people to visit and learn more about you off of your website. You're also able to, again, share via social media. So again, being able to promote and share your presence on these different social media accounts, you're able to make those connections inside of your podcast. And just like on your blog, you have an ability in most of the post podcast platforms, an ability to share and with their audiences as well. And you can also promote offers inside of your podcast, which again brings them into your email list and again helping you to do the nurturing that you have. And then you have, let's look at creatives, visual creatives. How are those interconnected with some of the other systems? Again, social media posts. When you create visual images or visual creatives like infographics or your ebooks or lead magnets of sorts, definitely are very visually appealing in that you're able to, again, share and use those images themselves and using them as social posts. You are able, again, to inside of those in those contents, you should have a link to your website, again, driving traffic there. You should be able to embed, possibly even use those images and embedding those inside and promoting it within the context of a blog post. And you're also able to do the same thing, embedding those visuals in the content thereof inside and promoting an offer maybe via your email newsletters. So you have that. Hope this is all starting to kind of make sense in regards to how is it that each one of these systems, even though they can operate separately, they have an intentional purpose that you can kind of grow off of by just thinking about how does each one benefit from the other. And then when we think of your blog, then we're thinking about, again, this is the space where you as the expert in your area, your niche of subject matter experts, that you're writing about those topics that you want that your audience wants to know more about. And it's also a way for you in that blogging that you're able to invite people to join your email. You're inviting them to join you on social media. You're inviting them to, again, talk about topics that you can hear more about inside of a podcast. Again, not necessarily your own. Optimize the opportunities of being a guest on other people's podcasts is also another benefit that you have. Let me just double check here what we got in the group. So I'll make sure. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them inside of the group. You're able to do that. All right. And getting back here, my notes. Okay, so the website, okay. And we talked about the podcast, traffic, content creatives. I think I've covered them all. So again, a content ecosystem can consist of these six primary components: social media, your website, email automation system, your visual creatives, podcasts, and blogging. And again, you do not have to be the sole expert in all six. Come into your sweet spot, operate from there, and then think about, however, how is it that you can take this information and share it in the context of all the other systems that are out there and start to branch out. That's the real benefit that you have. Start in one spot, and then you already can see how there is an interconnection with each one of them. So that today is what we can talk about when we think about ecosystems. Think about these six components, how they all can work together and help you to grow your new business. All right. So that's today's biz tip is think about one, which of these six, I want you to think about and share in the comments, which of the six that we've just talked about are you operating your best out of right now? Like, what's your sweet spot? Which one of the six? Is it social media? Are you doing a really good job in promoting? But what are you promoting? And then, or are you really good at getting your email list going and that you're promoting and you're being routine in respect to email automation with a newsletter? Because there's different ways of using your email automation system. Yes, there's the nurturing and maintaining of communication with your audience, and then there's an opportunity to using it for sales funnel components as well, which we'll talk about on another day. You do also have, are you really good at your creative visuals and you're promoting your expertise there? What about, are you starting from a podcast? Because that's an audio version. You don't have to worry about getting cute and pretty and preparing and being that way. But again, you're still able to add value. Are you really good at blogging? And again, it's another opportunity to write and share information that's useful to your intended audience. And again, how you're able to share that and reach your intended audience. So there's all of these, and then of course there's your website. Kind of like, I really feel as though your website is kind of like your central hub of information for all these other systems that kind of operate. And so when I talk to my clients inside that coming out of the busy 9-to-5ers hive, and we're starting with helping them to launch their business, obviously you need to have a home for your business, meaning that you've got your domain and you've at least got a web page, and then you can build out from there, and having a website, which is going to at least house content information about who you are and your personal brand, and then about your products and or your services. And so that's kind of like your central nucleus of your business. An extension of you is what your website does for you. And then again, how do you start to add on those other components within that content ecosystem that I just shared with you? That, my friends, is today's Biz Tip Tuesday. Share with me which of the six are your strongest elements in the comments below. Let's have that conversation. And then we will start to build out on each of the six components. This is where you'll have an opportunity here inside of Content Creation Tips and More community, where you'll be able to grow and expand. We'll be coming up with our expanding your new social media your audience using social media will be one of our upcoming events that you'll see more information up really soon. And then we're going to be taking it from there. So let me hear your thoughts and share your information on how you're working inside of the content marketing ecosystem. This is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. I certainly want to say thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, you can find me here inside of LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget, if you haven't already done so, please join us over at the Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group. Just go to smallbizsociety.com and answer 3 quick questions, and you are in like Flynn. And if you are listening and you haven't started your business yet, please join us over at Busy 9 to 5ers Hive. This is where you will be able to make your transition from employee to entrepreneur. Until next time, this is Dr. Am. Let's get busy. Bye.